Hi, this is Christopher Hand, Director of Assessment here with Academic Services Spotlight for this week, the week of February 27th. I'm here with Dr. Chris Martin, who's going to talk a little bit about accommodations for the new MAP test that's coming up. Chris, how you doing today?
Hi, good.
Well, what we have here, and to really, this is really focused with SPED teachers today, but also for your classroom teachers, you probably should hear some of these items. We're going to talk about the new accommodations for the MAP testing. So first off, Chris, you're going to send an email out to your teachers, SPED teachers, with the exact links of all those things we're going to discuss today, correct?
Right, right.
So let's talk a little bit about the accommodations, about the updated accommodations from the DESE website. This is a PDF here that we found. You want to talk a little bit about this?
Sure. Um, it's, as you all know, a little bit different this year. And when we talk about accommodations, this year accommodations are actually split into three different areas. Well, um, accommodations has its own area and if specifically must be in the IEP or a student's 504 plan. There are universal tools, which formerly might have been an accommodation or modification. Those universal tools are things that are available to all students. Um, and you'll see those on your screen now. Um, then there's also an area called designated supports. The designated supports are available when deemed appropriate by educators and again can be um, provided to the students. You'll see those here. Um, then, after designated supports, come accommodations. And like I said, the accommodations for our students that have disabilities must be in the IEP, the 504 plan, and most importantly, these accommodations are those that should have been provided all year long in the school setting, in their classroom setting. So it's not that we get a couple weeks before MAP testing and decide that our students need something. This should have been happening all year. Um, the IEP team needs to have had input in determining what accommodations the student would need. One thing I do want to point out to you is that you all know, most of you do know that the Form D does look a little bit different. Um, the accommodations that are on Form D, Part 2, should match those that are listed on Form F. And again, that just means that what's been happening all year in the classroom is what's on your Form D.
So this is a Form D, correct?
Right.
Right here, Chris, and
Mm-hmm.
this is actually from a PowerPoint that you'll be receiving as a SPED teacher, but you can find all of this information on DESE's website. If you just go to DESE, let me try and find it here, the home department site here, excuse me. On DESE's website, if you just go to SPED, and in SPED, you'll actually find webinars recorded. You'll
Right.
find Form D, and so right here, here's an example of Form D, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, as you can see here with grade level, the differences that we have this year, the major difference everyone knows is that there is no longer a paper form test. It is an online test, but it is a fixed form test. It is a test that has three different versions your kids could get, but it is completely online. So, if you have not taken the practice test with your students, I really recommend you would do that because during the practice test, you're going to find all those universal tools that you can work with your kids so they will know all of this. If you want more on the practice test, you can go ahead and go to my Twitter site at DuckHand, and it has all the information, actually webinars that I'm like similar to this, that you can find those tools. And also, I'll make sure to get some stuff in Dr. Martin's email.
The other thing I would say too is on the website you'll be getting the special ed website that's got the web that has the accommodations. It talks about the accommodations you can give and the new Form D. There is a webinar and there's also a question and answer segment. And I think I would highly recommend that you go through and look at that because I bet many of the questions that you have will be addressed there.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely take a look at that.
We're going to ask all people that are working with accommodations a couple of things. One, in the next 2 weeks, your school test coordinator, your principal or assistant principal, will be having a training with me, Christopher Hand, at the District Administrative Center. Through that training, you'll get pretty much an online webcast from the state called the school test coordinators training and the examiners training. So here's an example of the school test coordinators training, which you'll be able to find online. And I'm going to find an area here for accommodations and just play for you just a little bit of the segment.
An important part of preparing for testing is considering what supports and accommodations will need to be provided for students during the assessment. The accommodations guidelines for grade level assessments have changed significantly in 2015. Universal tools are available to all students.
So this is just reiterating what Dr. Martin just said regarding universal tools, designated tools. And then as you go further, there's an area that you're going to have to get into called the eDirect system. And you will find about, your principal will find out about this through the training that's coming up in the next 2 weeks and be able to meet with you. But you need to make sure that those accommodations are designated in the system once your students have been populated in. So you'll learn more about that as that comes forward as well. Some support accommodations that require special planning, so ahead of time, use of a translator, use of a scribe, separate setting, read aloud, and then paper, pencil, or Braille large print. We have already ordered our Braille large print.
Right.
Dr. Martin and I did that on Friday, this past Friday, so the 20th. If for some reason we have a large new student that's large print that we need to be aware of, that we do not know, please call Dr. Martin's office as soon as possible. Paper pencil needs to be designated and needs to have been used all year long, right, Dr. Martin?
Right. And you probably have heard about this already because I put out an email a couple weeks ago to the coordinators, and I think they've touched base with you because these are things, again, that should have already been in the IEP and have been addressed. And so based on that feedback is how I got the information to Christopher, and we've gone ahead and placed those orders. But it's possible something slipped through the cracks or someone's moved in. So
and we can definitely get those orders as soon as possible. For paper pencil, though, I'm going to reiterate this. It has to be used all throughout the year and be designated by the team. When we actually publish a paper pencil, it will cost us $15 each time, so in order to print it off. So we can't just, for example, say, you know what, we've just decided the student's going to take a paper pencil test. There is a clear process for us to follow to make sure that happens. And I know this is a new test, and it's online, and sometimes we definitely want to make sure that we get the right stage and setting for our kids. That's why we're doing all of these items today. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so we mentioned also the webinar. Chris, this is the webinar you were talking about, question and answer.
Right. This is the Q&A that followed the webinar on the DESE website, the special ed website. And it's one I was telling you to take a look at. Here's one example right here. Go ahead and click that.
Okay. Here we go.
If we check separate setting, does that mean we can decide at the time of testing whether it's an individual or small group testing? This was previously indicated on Form D. If a separate setting is chosen on Form D, this accommodation must also be provided on a regular basis in the classroom setting. It would be expected that alternative setting would be chosen on Form F. This means that however the student takes the test on a regular basis in the classroom setting, whether it's testing individually or in a small group, would be what would be used for the statewide assessment.
Okay, so as teachers go through this webinar, they can find it on the SPED site. But if they wanted to go to just DESE's website, for example, I'm going to go back here, and I'm in the DESE. I'm going to go right to the DESE front page, and under search, I can just type in special ed, hit enter, and when I do so, come right to the special ed page, and then go over to webinars on the right-hand side, and what you get is you get a list of recorded webinars right here.
Right.
And when you go there, they're all listed. You can find them as you go down.
Right.
So again, what we're telling you is we're trying to give you all the tools, but we're not going to sit here and tell you every exact thing. So you're going to have to seek some of these pieces out, which you always do every day with your kids and when you're looking for strategies, so on and so forth.
And also on these, you can print out, most of them will have a PowerPoint or a format that you'll be able to just print out. Like even those Q&A, if you don't want to sit and listen to the whole, I'm not sure how long that one is, 60 minutes or so, you can print out the PowerPoint and it'll have the questions and answers.
You can
on
also
there.
skip through a ton of it. Two things I want to show you. If you type in assessment on the main website for DESE and click the assessment department homepage, you can find out information and accommodations for each individual test if you like to break it down that way for learning. So for example, I'm going to click grade level test, and right here as you go through grade level, it gives you everything in the resources area, but you can also go to the examiner training, which is open now, and there's a webinar you can watch and skip through certain parts. The DTC, STC training, so you can look at it from that area. You can also click on resources, and you will find the accommodations, support, and tools, which we opened up for you at the beginning, which is actually this right here. You can also find, up-to-date information will be on this page. Again, if you want to go to end of course, same exact thing. You can go all the way down to the bottom here, and you'll find manual trainings, you will find resources, everything you need to find for all the assessments. So I would definitely go to this site as well to help you out. Last thing I wanted to show you was the eDirect administration site, okay? As you are working with students on those universal tools, Dr. Martin, that everyone has to have, you can click on the eDirect site, and if you wanted to, you can also Google eDirect Missouri. It'll bring you to this page. This is open to the general public. Anyone can go here. What you would do is when you come here, you go onto the online tools training software download. You click it. You have to be in Google Chrome to do this. When you click, it gives you a practice summative test. You click on online tools, and today I'm going to choose math. And I'm going to choose grades 3 through 5. The audio is not open yet, but the standard is open. So you would click, and once you click on the standard page, it would then open to math 3 through 5. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the username and password right here. You don't have to have one. And then I'm typing in test 4321. Sign in. And what's great about this is exactly what your kids are going to see when they come in. Welcome student. You click continue, math, and then it asks you to make sure your computer is set up. And then what it gives you is all the navigation tools, so you could walk this through with your students. It also gives you all the testing tools, pointer, crossout. So Chris, how can this help with the students?
Oh, this is huge. I would definitely recommend to the special ed teachers to go ahead and do this with your students to run through it so they are familiar with at least what's going to be expected and they can see the symbols and the directions and all that to prepare them.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. And then what I would also do is have them take the practice test. So I would do this as a whole group, one-on-one, and then they could do this on their own. But the one thing that's wonderful is, for example, line grid. You can pull this down. You can follow along with the line grid, cross out all the test-taking strategies we teach our kids to be successful here in Liberty Public Schools. They have here for this site. So definitely go through it with them. Make it a homework assignment. Actually, I know my child at home has actually been working on it back and forth. We're trying to get him to the advanced. He was proficient, but you know, all our kids are advanced. But Dr. Martin, anything else you want to just go back to?
No, it's all here for you. But you know, if after you look at these things, you have specific questions, you know, feel free to talk to your special ed process coordinator. Give me a call, send me an email. We just want to set our kids up for success, and these tools will really help you do that, I think.
The why of the state testing for our students is always to create a quality testing environment so our students can show the evidence of learning they've gained all year. So I want to thank you personally for everything you do for our kids to level the playing field with accommodations. Teachers, as you know, MAP will be coming up in around April 20th all the way to May 15th. Additional questions you can ask your school test coordinator. Again, thank you for checking in on Academic Services Spotlight. Dr. Martin, thank you for being here this week.
Thank you.
No problem. Remember to inspire, inspire, invest, and innovate always.